What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this, we have 10 shocking realizations Americans have when living in the United Kingdom. Before we dive into this video, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Let's see what these realizations are.
Today, I want to talk about 10 shocking realizations that Americans have after living in the UK. Number one, life isn't all about what you do for a living. For those of you who don't know, in America, what you do for a living is a big part of your core identity. Not just because it's what you do for work and is what you've spent a lot of time and in many cases a lot of money in order to get that position, but also it's one of the first things people ask you when they meet you for the first time. If you meet someone in a bar or something like that, and one of the first things they would be like is, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" It's very common. It's not unheard of at all in America for that to be one of the things people are most interested in about you. It's just something that's part of the culture in America that I never even realized was not normal until I moved to the UK. It's not like they don't, but it's definitely not one of the first things they ask you when they meet you. It's just not something that people have such a very tight tie to either. It's not their whole identity. The work-life balance here in the UK is just structured so differently that nothing is really a core identity of who you are other than you. Life is definitely not about work. It's more about what you do outside of work. A lot of people tell me this all the time, that Americans live to work and people from the UK work to live. Pretty much says it all. Number two.
I agree. When we're talking about America, we do like what we do. I feel like is a big part of our identity, just because that's kind of how we've been taught to believe. And so when when we meet new people and talk to, hey, well, what do you do? What do you do for work? What do you? And we should. There is a lot of stuff. There's a lot to people outside of what they do, and nobody should be judged based on their job, based on their career, right? And so, I love the fact that Brits work to live, because at the end of the day, you only get one life here on this planet Earth, and we got a limited amount of time. So don't let your life just be all about work. Leah.
Safety just hits a little bit differently here. I have never felt so safe in my life. Now, there's a heavy gun culture in America. The police are some of the most armed people I've ever seen other than military. People hunt for sport, and I've even seen people openly carry them on their hip like it's the Old West. I'm serious. Even if you take the guns away from that whole situation, the police training is not necessarily focused on avoiding and non-escalating situations. Plus, they don't have as many cameras. Then you factor in things like there's tons of animals that can kill you in America or hurt you or at least get you very ill. And there's lots of alcoholism and substance abuse in America. Don't even get me started on being a parent in America when it comes to the safety issues as well. You just don't feel taken care of. You don't feel 100% comfortable ever in the United States. However, here in the UK, I feel much more relaxed about my safety, and more importantly, about the safety of my child. There's cameras everywhere. The police do not carry armed weapons. I think there's a specialized division that might for certain cases, but it's definitely not like you're not going to get pulled over by a policeman in the UK and have to worry about them having a weapon on them. There's a real focus on having a community that looks out for each other. If someone starts something,
not really. Absolutely. Safety, I feel like it's such a big thing. Because eventually, when you start a family, right, you want your child to grow up in a safe environment. But you want to live a long life too. So you want your safety to be able to go about just in the world without having to be scared or in fear of something happening to you. And that kind of safety is priceless. And so the fact that she feels so much more safe, I feel like that's absolutely incredible. Um, and the officers, I do feel like they are more trained over in the UK, and they are trained on how to de-escalate in situations rather than escalate them quickly or react or. And so I feel like we do need more training. However, I do know we have a shortage of police, so it's difficult.
On the street and it is unwarranted, it's unnecessary or out of hand, locals will step in and try to mitigate the situation before even getting the police involved. In America, there's a very hands-off approach because you don't know if you get involved in an altercation, if you're going to get hurt, if you're going to get shot, if you're going to get caught up in the crime. Americans are just more reluctant to participate in any kind of, civil despairing of any altercation. Another thing that I realized when I moved to the UK is that being healthy doesn't have to be expensive. The grocery prices here in the UK are shockingly cheap compared to what we have in the United States. Now, there is a cost of living crisis here in the UK, but compared to what we pay for in America, it's insane. For as an example, lettuce that I've paid for $2 or $3 for a head of lettuce in America, and I've paid like 80p here. Everything that's healthy in America seems to be so much more expensive, and anything that is processed and full of sodium and sugar tends to be a lot cheaper and more accessible. Complete opposite here in the UK. I'm usually pleasantly surprised even now when I go to the grocery store how inexpensive things can actually be. The next shocking thing...
I completely agree. And that's crazy. That groceries are so expensive here, yet elsewhere they're cheap. Or they're cheaper. And you definitely wish you had them kind of prices in the grocery store. You want to save as much money as you can. Let's keep it going.
Food has really good natural flavor and can also be extremely satisfying. In America, as I said in the previous segment, there's lots of sodium, there's lots of sugars pumped into things, there's lots of preservatives, there's lots of chemicals to make things last longer, to have a longer shelf date, and you're always on the go. So either you're grabbing something to eat from a restaurant or fast food, or you're, trying to have a quick meal, and so you're just heating something up in the microwave. Of course, people do cook from scratch and do cook with, natural organic stuff, but like I said in the previous segment, it's a lot more expensive. So the average person, if you're trying to cut costs, especially in the economy that we're in right now or across the globe, you're going to go for what's cheap and how you can feed your family. And in most cases, that's not very healthy. It doesn't even really taste that good. You don't realize it doesn't taste that good until you go somewhere and they make it fresh. Or you can actually have more natural ingredients in it. And then you realize I don't need a whole lot of that sugar and salt and chemical to feel satisfied. This small portion of an average meal is enough. I just need this portion of good, fresh prepared food that has natural flavors. It's good pairings with all of the spices and everything that you use. And I can just enjoy it and be satisfied and not feel completely gross 5 minutes later.
I feel
this
that.
Next one is something.
I feel that. And yes, I guess I've only eaten American food. I've eaten different kinds of food, but I've only eaten in America. I've never been outside of the country. So I'd be intrigued of what it'd be like to travel and eat elsewhere and then kind of see that difference in food standard and see if I can taste the freshness of the food without all the preservatives and chemicals. And so I'd be intrigued to see how that went.
That I sort of brag about all the time, even to British people. I didn't realize growing up in America that driving could be optional. It can be a little bit awkward for British people sometimes, depending on your location. Because I know if you're taking the train, sometimes you have to go to a hub in order to get to another area of the UK or something like that. So it is a little bit involved, can take a long time as well. So people opt to drive. But I have literally heard people do nothing but complain about driving here. I personally loved driving in America. I couldn't wait to get my license. I drove everywhere I could.
Yeah.
When I first got my license, and the novelty kind of died off. I grew up on road trips.
Yeah.
So road trips and being able to just get in your car and drive, that convenience and that freedom is something that I really thrived for and really appreciated. Even when I worked from home and I didn't have any commute at all, I so very much appreciated just having my car sitting in the driveway. So if I wanted to go do something, I could just hop in the car and go. When I came to the UK, I was a little bit daunted, and I still get extremely stressed when I drive here, and it's not that often. I'm still learning. I love the fact that I can just hop on a train or a bus and get where I need to go. It's just not even available unless you're in big cities in the US, and a lot of the big cities don't even have public transit that expands the entire city. Anyway, the fact that you can actually get around without a car and without having to drive and not be isolated in any way is absolutely incredible, and I'm still flabbergasted about that. Number 6.
I will say, when it comes to driving, I mean, I can drive. It's no problem for me. I just much prefer to be the passenger. I much prefer to be on my phone, or playing games, texting, looking stuff up, TikTok, scrolling. I much prefer to be on my phone than driving. I can't be on my phone and drive because it's the least dangerous situation. So I feel like I'd be cool with public transport because I can be on my phone chilling. But yeah, driving, I was so excited to drive at first too, but it does wear off. I guess with anything in life, once you do it for so long, it starts to wear off, and it's like, it's just a part of life now. I do enjoy knowing there's a car in the driveway, and I can go wherever I feel like it to wherever I want. But to get around without having to pay a car note, without having to pay for maintenance, without having to pay for insurance, that would be very nice.
That being able to speak English plus other languages is not as rare as Americans think it is. It's not that Americans don't have interactions with people who speak different languages. Usually, a lot of our immigrant culture is very centralized in a specific area that is relevant to the port that is closest to where they're coming from. So as an example, I grew up in New Jersey. There's a very heavy Indian culture and Latin American culture. So the native languages that came along with those cultures are the ones that I'm most used to. It's not that I didn't know there were other speaking other people that spoke different languages in the world or anything like that. It's just that it seemed more abstract and rare to me because those are the only ones that I was really exposed to throughout my lifetime. Moving to UK, I kind of had a little bit of a preconceived notion that the majority of people here will just speak English. And I think that some of that assumption kind of drew on the history of the UK Empire and thinking that they just had that influence. So everybody just spoke English that was associated with the UK. But it's not like that. I mean, there's people even within the UK that speak different languages, Scottish, Welsh, and there's people that speak Irish.
Yeah.
It might be Celtic. Celtic. Not to mention
the
mass amount of people that are from Europe, that are from India and the Middle East. It really is a hub of culture here in England, especially around London. I think it's really amazing. I have a lot of conversations with people about language and what things are referred to in all these different lands. It's a really amazing opportunity for anybody that can be exposed to those things. But I have to admit, I wasn't exposed to them in America as much as you would think would, being the melting pot of the world.
Yeah.
So another shocking thing.
And I can definitely understand that. But yeah, I would love to be bilingual, to speak more than one language. I feel like it's just really cool and beneficial, and it kind of sets you apart from a lot of people, at least here in the U.S. I feel like in Europe, it's more common to be bilingual. But over here, it's not as common. We are very multicultural over here, but and so for a multicultural community, I feel like it's common to be bilingual. But I feel like for most Americans, we're just not. We're just not. We can only speak English, unfortunately.
Thing for me is that higher education and good education in general seems more attainable than anything that I saw in America. Just the cost of higher education between the two is astoundingly different.
I bet.
But it also seems like it's something that is more just specialized to the individual rather than, yeah, you're done with high school, you should go to college now. You're done with your bachelor's degree, make sure you get a master's, you won't get a good job. And then you're like almost 30 before you start actually a real job and working. It's crazy. Here, there's a lot more people that are pushed into trade. They go to local colleges or smaller universities. Also, just the main education that you get in school through the UK school system as compared to what they're exposed to in the United States. They are exposed to learning different languages. They're exposed to a lot of different arts as well. A better understanding of world history and a more accurate depiction of world history and current events, not to mention of how to read, how to write. Education in the UK just seems to be something that is more applicable to everyone and that it's a more level playing field than it is in America. And I love that. Number 8.
On that, I'm just like, I feel like she's completely right in saying like you gotta get. When I was in school, it was like college is the way parents told you that, teachers told you that, society told you that, and it was beat into you. And we weren't talking about like trades weren't glorified or they were kind of frowned upon. I feel like it was go to college, you're guaranteed to get a good job. But now trade, I feel like we're very late to the party. But we are finally getting on teaching more trades in high school. So these kids, because college isn't for everyone, they can go out into the world and start for trades immediately. And trades are starting to be like looked upon as a great job now. Like they have a better reputation. And so it's starting to shift now. We're just much later and trying to catch up to the rest of the world in that aspect.
Living a slow and steady lifestyle works. Again, I say this all the time, but America is such an on-the-go culture. We don't stop. As if non-stop. Like a minute of rest or breathing is wasted. Here in the UK, it's just such a slower pace. It's not like people aren't ambitious. It's not like people aren't, really focused and hustle. That culture is still here, but they understand that it isn't the only thing in your world. There's so much more to do. And there's a huge focus on family and personal relationships here as well. There's so much more balance in life here. And it makes you want to slow down. It makes you want to really take in the moment and really take advantage of all of the extra time that you have and fill it with things that are actually pleasing and making you feel good about yourself. And I didn't ever think that was possible. I really thought the go culture in the United States was the only way to achieve and the only way to get ahead or even survive. And I'm still shocked that I feel even more fulfilled here at a slower and steadier pace, that I feel so much better about my life and my relationships than I ever did when I was in the United States. Number 9, having an action.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. It's like a hustle culture, like always grinding, and you're always moving. And it's like, yeah. And that was me before I married my wife. Like that was me. Like I felt like I was always working, always thinking about making more money. You're always thinking about a different hustle, always thinking like always my point. And I feel like she's taught me a lot to just kind of, hey, like be in this moment, be present, like kind of slow down, like, and so now I can like stop and actually like enjoy more things in life, and like it's okay to enjoy your life. It's okay to have fun. Yeah, as the dad and I'm the provider in my household, and that has to, I have to take care of that. That's number one priority. But right, you don't always need to be thinking, I need all of this or I need to be working constantly. No. Breathe, slow down, enjoy the life. We only get one, like I said earlier, you only get one life. Enjoy it.
Actual community can be a benefit. So individualistic in America, we are so focused on ourselves. The community doesn't gel together. It's not that we have no sense of community. It's just that we are definitely going to do for ourselves first. Whereas here, it's a natural thing to make sure the community is okay. They want to keep everything at a pace. They want to keep everything at a certain level where it's enjoyable for the masses. And it's not about each individual having their moment. It is about the community, and it's about everyone having a safe environment in order for people to thrive and people to enjoy. And I love that.
That is awesome.
The last thing that was a shocking realization that I had as an American living here in the UK, the realization of what life living in the United States really was.
What's that?
There's a lot of things that I was down on in America on this list. And I have to admit, I am really enjoying living here in the UK. So my bias is very evident. There were good things about living in America. You also have to realize the things that are bad and the things that the United States thinks they're doing well that they're not.
Yeah.
Or they think they're better at that they're not. And also come to terms with the fact that you have all of these preconceived notions and all these biases and all of these influences that push your point of view in a certain way that probably isn't true. That was a realization that I had to come to, that it was really hard for me. It almost felt like I was breaking up with someone I really loved. It was pretty devastating, and I had to go through a slight mourning period about it. And there are even times now where I'm like, wow, America really messed me up.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just a learning curve like anything else. You do not know what you have or don't have until you expand your horizons and try something different. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to find out what it's like to live in a different country. It doesn't mean that I hate my home or how I grew up, but I am very, very aware of the good and bad about America and America. That realization was probably one of the hardest things that I had to come to terms with during this move and this journey. There you have it, guys. 10 shocking realizations Americans have after living in the UK, from my experience and from speaking to other people and interacting with other Americans and expats and immigrants here. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
And that's all we got for this video. Absolutely freaking love that. And I feel like we are absolutely lied to about so freaking much. But unless we like learn about the rest of the world, unless we get out into the rest of the world, then we're never gonna know. Like I never knew until I started doing reactions how much we were actually lied to about. And so, yeah, your perception. I'm sure her perception, as so many Americans that have moved abroad, perception has changed once they moved abroad. That's all we have. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, give a bit of thumbs up, check out the next, and I'll see y'all next time.